Hey, welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I'm your host, John Keating, and I thank you for joining me as I take a look back at the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby by taking a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment or suggestion, I urge you to drop me a line at that70scardShow@gmail.com, that 70s Card Show on YouTube, or 70s Card on Twitter. Hey, you can send me emails, comments, whatever. I have thick skin and thin hair. I can take it. So, yes, this is episode 33. Episode 33 in our long suffering journey through the culture cards of the 1970s. I happen to have some 1970-71 tall boy basketball cards from Topps. Picked these babies up at the Dallas Card Show early September-ish, I guess, about $1 piece. I love them. They're beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful cards. Can't wait to dig into them and tell you more about them if you don't already know. Want to talk about a couple comments I received. One gentleman in the Harpers Ferry tri-state metroplex area there, West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, where gas is cheap and talk is cheaper, reached out and loved my mispronunciation of the Cincinnati Bengals so much, I called them the Cincinnati Bagels, that he changed his fantasy team name to the Cincinnati Bagels. So I appreciate that. I'm glad I can be a source of humor and ridicule. That's okay. That's why I'm here. A couple other comments received via my massive, epic show about the baseball palaces of the 70s. Dean Gerhardt, who has Dean Gerhardt, yeah, I collect it all, on YouTube, says he listens to the episodes while he delivers the mail. And I found that very relevant to our hobby. It's kind of one of the lifebloods of our hobby is the through the mail stuff. So I urge you folks, gals, girls, guys, geeks to make sure you show your appreciation for your mail carrier. They work very hard to make sure that we get cards in our mailbox. We don't call them mail days for nothing. So I happen to give my guy John a gift card every year to Wawa, which is a big deal when you're out here in Pennsylvania. And make sure you show your appreciation. Not only do they bring us bills, but they bring us ball cards as well. So that's appreciated. Dean Gerhardt, yeah, I collect it all. Wonderful channel. This guy has got a wonderful collection. So check him out on YouTube. I'm thoroughly impressed with the depth of his collection. I love watching his videos. Great stuff there. And of course, Ken from Bean's Ball Card blog kept it real by telling us that multi-purpose stadiums were just awful. And he reiterated that with all caps, awful, and an exclamation point. Ken, listen, man, until you've sat in a 60,000 seat stadium with 6,000 people watching a baseball game, do not judge, because there is nothing like being able to hear the guy on the other side of the stadium boo just as loud as the guy sitting 20 feet from you to your right. I love the old ballparks. I love the 70s ballparks. That's where I grew up going to baseball games. So the heck with you, sir. No, I'm kidding. Thanks for writing in as usual, Ken. Appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about the NBA in 1970-71. We'll start with the draft, which was held on March 23rd, 1970 in New York City, of course, in a smoky, dimly lit room, as I always say. 239 total selections over 19 rounds. Bob Lanier from the Detroit Pistons was your first overall pick. So I'm going to read a little bit of stuff I gleaned and gathered from NBA Reference, NBA Almanac, Wikipedia. There will be some stuff from the Cardboard Connection. There will be stuff from the Trading Card Database. There will be stuff from Beckett. So appreciate all of the work that those entities do in bringing us information. The 1970 NBA draft was the 24th annual draft of the National Basketball Association. The draft was held again on March 23rd before the 70-71 season. In this draft, 17 teams took turns selecting amateur U.S. college basketball players and other eligible players, including international players. A player who had finished his 4-year college eligibility was eligible for selection. If a player left college early, he would not be eligible for selection until his draft class graduated. The first two picks in the draft belonged to the teams that finished last in each division, with the other determined by a coin flip. The Detroit Pistons won the coin flip and were awarded the first overall pick, while the San Diego Rockets were awarded the second pick. The remaining first-round picks and the subsequent rounds were assigned to teams in reverse order of their win-loss record in the previous season. 3 expansion franchises, the Buffalo Braves, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Portland Trailblazers, took part in the NBA draft for the first time and were assigned the 7th, 8th, and 9th pick in each round. In the first round, the Cleveland Cavaliers had the 7th pick, while the Blazers and the Braves had the 8th and 9th pick, respectively. In the subsequent rounds, the Cavaliers and Braves exchanged their orders of selection, while the Blazers had the 8th pick throughout the draft. The draft consisted of 19 rounds, comprised of 239 players, and it holds the record for the most prospects selected in any NBA draft. As mentioned, Bob Lanier from St. Bonaventure University was selected first overall by the Pistons. Rudy Tomjanovich from the University of Michigan and Pete Maravich from Louisiana State University were selected second and third, respectively. Fourth pick Dave Cowens from Florida State University and 8th pick Jeff Petrie from Princeton went on to be named as joint winners of the Rookie of the Year award in their first season. 6 players in this draft: Lanier, Maravich, Cowens, 18th pick Calvin Murphy, 19th pick Nate Archibald, and 122nd pick Dan Issel have been inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. There is another one there as well that I'll get to in a second. Maravich, Cowens, and Archibald were also named to the list of the 50 greatest players in NBA history announced at the league's 50th anniversary in 1996. Someday I'm going to tell you a story about that. I get to be a part of some of the festivities regarding the 50th greatest players in NBA history, which was pretty cool. Maravich had 4 All-NBA team selections and 5 All-Star game selections. Cowens won 2 NBA championships with the Celtics, most valuable player in 73, and 3 All-NBA team selections and 7 All-Star selections. Archibald won 1 NBA championship with the Celtics in 81 and had 5 All-NBA All-NBA team selections and 6 All-Star game selections. Lanier and Murphy were selected to 8 and 1 All-Star game appearances, respectively. I have a hard time believing that Calvin Murphy only made 1 All-Star game. Dan Issel initially opted to play in the American Basketball Association with the Kentucky Cardinals. He played 6 seasons in the ABA before finally joining the NBA with the Denver Nuggets when both leagues merged. He was selected to 5 All-NBA teams, 6. I did it again. He was selected to 5 All-ABA teams, 6 ABA All-Star games, and 1 NBA All-Star game. Lanier, Tomjanovich, and Cowens and Issel all became coaches after ending their playing career. Tomjanovich coached 2 NBA teams, the Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. He coached the Rockets for 12 seasons, leading them to the NBA championship twice in 94 and 95. He also coached the United States national basketball team to a gold medal at the 2000 Olympic Games. Cowens started his career as a player coach with the Celtics during the 78-79 season before returning to a full-time player the next season. He later coached 2 more NBA teams, most recently the Golden State Warriors. Issel coached the Denver Nuggets for 6 seasons and 2 separate 3-year stints, and 2 other players drafted also went on to have coaching careers in the NBA, the 40th pick Gar Hurd and the 125th pick George Irvine. The 1970 draft class is considered to be one of the best in NBA history, as it produced 6 Hall of Fame players and 12 All-Stars from those draftees who played in the NBA. 3 of the first 4 picks were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and 7 of the first 8 picks became All-Stars. The 1970 draft is also known as the first draft where international players who had never played U.S. high school or college basketball were selected. In the 10th and 11th round, the Atlanta Hawks drafted Mexican Manuel Raga. I don't know whether that's an R-A-G-A, and Italian Dino Manigin. Both were playing in the Italian League at the time. They became the first two international players drafted in the NBA. However, neither of them ever played in the league, as the Hawks did not have $35,000 to buy out either of their contracts with their team. Madigan, who played 28 seasons in Italy, has been inducted into the FIBA International Basketball Federation Hall of Fame, and also the Basketball Hall of Fame. And Raga has also been inducted into the FIBA Hall of Famer. Great job, Atlanta. You guys blew it on two different players there. Looking at the draft here, putting on my basement glasses. Again, Lanier, Tomjanovich, Maravich, Cowens, Murphy, and Archibald, all Hall of Famers, as well as Dan Issel, and drafted in the 7th round. 106 overall was Charlie Scott, who played in the NBA. I believe he ended up playing with the Celtics eventually, but also University of North Carolina. He was a big-time player in the ABA. He's also in the Naismith Hall of Fame. So while the big boys were over there playing in their canvas sneakers in the NBA, a couple fellows over there in the ABA were still at it, chugging along. There were no cards for the ABA in the 70-71 season, at least not mass-produced. At least I couldn't find those on Beckett. So no cards that year. Eventually, they would get their cards, though. This is from Wikipedia as well. The 70-71 ABA season was the 4th season of the American Basketball Association. Notable franchise moves from the previous season included, and this is one of the reasons why we love the ABA, they were always on the move. The Washington Caps moved to Norfolk, Virginia, becoming the Virginia Squires, and switched divisions with the Indiana Pacers. The Miami Floridians became more of a regional franchise and were renamed simply the Floridians. The Los Angeles Stars moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, and became the Utah Stars. The Dallas Chaparrals became a regional franchise and were renamed the Texas Chaparrals. And the New Orleans Buccaneers moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and became the Memphis Pros. That year, the Utah Stars, led by Zelmo Beatty and Willie Wise, won the championship, defeating the Kentucky Colonels 4-3 in the ABA Finals. And the Virginia Squires won the Eastern Division that year, 11 games over the Kentucky Colonels, 15 games over the New York Nets, 18 games over the Floridians, 19 games over the Pittsburgh Condors, and 21 games over those hot Carolina Cougars. In the Western Division, we had the Indiana Pacers a game up on the Utah Stars. Stars would have the last laugh, right? Memphis Pros 17 games behind the Pacers. The Texas Chaparrals 28 games behind, as were the Denver Rockets. Oddly enough, everybody in that Western Division made the playoffs. So 5 for 5 there. Well done, guys. The most valuable player in that season was Mel Daniels of the Indiana Pacers, Charlie Scott, who I just mentioned, and Dan Issel, who I also just mentioned, of the Squires and Colonels, respectively, won Rookie of the Year, which was interesting because the same thing happened in the NBA, co-Rookies of the Year. Charlie Scott, again, NBA Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, Basketball Hall of Fame. Coach of the Year was Al Bianchi of the Virginia Squires. Playoffs MVP was Zelmo Beatty. All-Star Game MVP, Mel Daniels. And if you're really interested in the first team All-ABA, it's Roger Brown of the Pacers, Rick Barry of the Nets, Mel Daniels of the Pacers, Mac Calvin of the Floridians, and that Charlie Scott of the Virginia Squires. Let's talk a little bit about the 70-71 NBA season, okay? It was the 25th season in the National Basketball Association. The season ended with the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship, beating the Baltimore Bullets 4-0 in the NBA Finals. The NBA expanded to 17 teams as the aforementioned Blazers, Braves, and Cavaliers began to play. For the first time, the league was divided into two conferences, East and West, each with two divisions. The Detroit Pistons and Milwaukee Bucks were shifted from the old Eastern Division to the Western Division, or to the Western Conference Mid-East Division, I should say, or Midwest Division. I don't know. And the Atlanta Hawks were switched from the Western Division and the Eastern Conference's Central Division. So at least the Hawks had the foresight to move from the West to the East, something the Braves did not do throughout the 70s and most of the 80s. NBA All-Star Game was played at the San Diego Sports Arena in San Diego, California, with the West beating the East 108-117. Lenny Wilkens of the Seattle Supersonics was the game's MVP. San Diego Sports Arena is a dump. I've been there many times. I will eventually do a series on the barns of hockey and basketball barns of the 70s. San Diego Sports Arena, I have nothing pleasant to say about that joint, other than it's in a really nice city. The Rookie of the Year award, again, shared by Dave Cowens of the Celtics and Jeff Petrie of the Trailblazers. In their third year of existence, the Bucks won the NBA championship, sweeping the Baltimore Bullets in 4 straight games. This was the first NBA Finals to feature none of the NBA's foundation franchises. The Bullets franchise had joined the NBA as the Chicago Packers in 1961, and the Bucks franchise had joined in 1968. This was also the first NBA Finals since 1956 to feature neither Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain. Season started on October 30th, 1970, ended on March 23rd, 1971. Playoffs March 24th through April 19th, and the finals were April 21st through April 30th of 1971. 82 total games, 17 teams. The TV partner was ABC. Let's see here. The regular season top seed was the Bucks. Season MVP was Lou Alcindor. Top scorer Lou Alcindor. Eastern champion Baltimore Bullets, and the Western champions were the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, the Bucks 4-0 Finals MVP was Lou Alcindor. Let's talk a little bit about these divisions. The Knicks won the Atlantic Division, 5 games over the Sixers, 8 games over the Boston Celtics, and 30 games over the Buffalo Braves. In the Central Division, the Baltimore Bullets won by 6 games over the Hawks, 9 games over the Cincinnati Royals, and 27 games over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Midwest Division, Milwaukee Bucks, 15 games in front of the Chicago Bulls. Phoenix Suns, 18 games behind the Bucks, and the Pistons were 21 games behind the Bucks. Pretty competitive division, considering that the Central Division, the Royals had a 36-46 record and missed the playoffs, and the Suns and Pistons both had better records and missed in the Western Conference. Los Angeles Lakers were 7 games in front of the Warriors from San Francisco, and 8 games ahead of the San Diego Rockets, 10 games ahead of the Seattle Supersonics, and 19 games ahead of the Portland Trail Blazers. Knicks 4-1 over the Hawks, first round of playoffs. Baltimore 4-3 over the Sixers, first round of the playoffs. Milwaukee 4-1 over the Warriors, and Los Angeles 4-3 over the Bulls. In the conference finals, New York lost 4-3 to Baltimore, and Milwaukee won 4-1 over Los Angeles. And, of course, Milwaukee just trounced Baltimore 4-0 again in the finals. Dick Motta was your NBA Coach of the Year. Again, Lou Alcindor was your MVP. All NBA first team, Dave Bing, Jerry West, Lou Alcindor, Billy Cunningham, and John Havlicek. Points per game, Lou Alcindor had 31.7. Rebounds per game, Wilt Chamberlain 18.2. Assists per game, Norm Van Leer 10.1. Field goal percentage, Johnny Green from the Cincinnati Royals 587. And Chet Walker had the best free throw percentage at 859. Okay, 33. We are in episode 33, and that was Lou Alcindor's number in the 70-71 season. One of 8 gentlemen, 8 gentlemen wear that number that year. Jim Barnett from Portland, Jerry Chambers from Atlanta, Jake Ford from Seattle, Bob Portman from the Warriors, Cazzie Russell from New York Knicks, Garfield Smith from the Boston Celtics, and George Wilson from Buffalo. Each wore number 33 that year. 33, that is this episode. Nobody, oddly enough, wore the number 2 in the 1970-71 season. Put that in your dad facts file. So I think like 1 through 45, mid 40s, the only number not worn was number 2. Oscar Robertson wore 1 and Fred Carter wore 3. So there was only one player that each wore one of those too. December 30th, 1970, Seattle Supersonics signed Spencer Haywood as a free agent. If you recall from a previous episode, the NBA had sued Seattle because Haywood violated rules stating a player could not join the league until he was 4 years out of high school. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Seattle on March 8th, 1971. Haywood was playing in the ABA, I believe, to bide his time until his college class graduated. I think he jumped the gun a little, but eventually, obviously, he made it to the NBA. Also, there was a trade during the season, which was kind of strange. Howard Porter was traded from the Pittsburgh Condors of the ABA to the Chicago Bulls of the NBA. Odd. It was for a scrub player and some cashola going to Pittsburgh, and Porter going to Chicago. Howard Porter was a stud in college, led the Villanova Wildcats to the NCAA finals, I'm going to say in 1970, lost to that mighty UCLA Bruins. Those great dynasty teams from Westwood. And 68-62, I think it was, Howard Porter was the most valuable player or man of the tournament or whatever, most outstanding player, the MOP, as they called it back then. Anyway, he was stripped of his eligibility or whatever, stripped of his and the wins were vacated, all that jazz, because Porter had signed midway through his senior year with Pittsburgh. Never played for Pittsburgh or the ABA, so ends up getting traded back over to the NBA. Chicago Bulls, becomes a nice little player. I think he averaged 13, 14 points a game for a little while there. So finally that was resolved. Sadly, there were some players that left the NBA, and I'm going to bring up 2 because they both came from the same womb. Ralph Ogden and Bud Ogden both went to Santa Clara, both from San Jose. Ralph was drafted in the 4th round in 1970, and Bud was drafted in the 1st round in the 1968 draft. So Bud, over his long 2-year career, averaged 3.5 points a game, and Ralph averaged 1.3 points a game. But imagine both these cats having to tell their dad come September 1971 why they're not going to work because they couldn't find jobs in the NBA. I imagine that's pretty rough to tell your pop that you're out of work. But anyway, they got to play in the NBA. I don't know whether Ralph brought Bud down or Bud's reputation brought Ralph down, but both gone from the NBA. 1 year for Ralph, 2 years from Bud. Again, these guys, same parents, overachievers, underachievers, I don't know, but sad day in the Ogden household. We are going to talk now about the basketball cards, 1970-71 Topps basketball cards. Again, I have these 5. I have myself a little Jimmy Collins, Willie McCarter, Jim King, Dick Garrett, and Dave Gamby. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tall boys picked up at Dallas in September. Bring up some wax boxes here. 175 cards in this set. They were sold in 10-cent packs, 10 cards per. Don't think there was any cellar or rack packs. Wax boxes, I think, had 24 packs in them. Oddly shaped, obviously, because the cards themselves were oddly shaped. No factory sets. They didn't do that back then. This was the first time that Topps did a second series or a 2-series basketball edition. Series 1 through 1, or cards 1 through 110 in Series 1, which includes 22 short prints, and 111 through 175 is Series 2, and also card number 101 is in there. I'm not sure whether 101 was also issued with Series 1, but it's definitely contains the checklist for Series 2. No league license. There is a player's license. Again, 175 cards, 23 rookie cards. let's get to the front of these cards, huh? 2.5 by 4 and 11/16 inches. These are the second year of the tall boys that they've been affectionately known as. And beautiful cards, beautiful set. Great idea, just hard to store these days. And I imagine they were hard to store back then as well. Front of the card features the player for the most part on a colored background. White border around that colored background, and inside of that colored background is another colored piping, small thin band around there. The inside, the piping as well as the background inside are curved on the sides or on the corners. Pretty cool little feature there. The players are posed for the most part. There are some of them that are in action, a little airbrushing. If you're looking at YouTube, you can see Emmett Bryant has a little airbrushing going on in the front of his jersey. Of course, Topps had no shortage of airbrushers in that day and a lot of extra paint, I'm sure. There is a basketball either on the bottom left or bottom right of the standard card, and imposed on that rather blandly is the player's first name and last name in all caps. Last name is pretty prominent. Below that is the position in all lowercase letters, and below that is in all caps the city name for the club. Again, these guys did not have a license for team names or logos. So occasionally in this set, you will see names of cities on the front of the uniforms, but as the NBA was back then, they typically didn't have logos on the front of the uniforms anyway. Let's see here. There are no there's an all-star subset 106 through 115, but there's no recognition for either for all-stars or rookies on the standard card issues. So I'll get a little into the subsets here in a bit. Mostly all these the standard cards are mostly portrait or vertical cards on the front. The league leader cards are horizontals. Yeah, so mostly portrait cards here, and again, mostly posed photos as well. So let's talk about the back of the cards. Because baby got back. All right, the back of the cards. Most of them are two-toned orange, black lettering, white border around there. All the league leader and player cards, standard player cards, are landscaped or horizontal. The postseason subset has vertical or portrait back, as does the all-star subset as well. Get into that here in a second. The card number is in the upper left in a circle. Player name, white caps, kind of on the upper left of the card. The team city below that in black. We have ourselves a date of birth on there, a hometown and a home, a height, weight, college. No draft information on there, but it does tell you how many years pro the player is. So on screen right now, you can see John Havlicek, 8 years pro. I love myself where they were born. I also love myself where their home is. So well done. Every card should have that information, both place of birth and their home, what they consider their home. There's a bio in the center of the card. There is a cartoon on the right, which has a fun fact about the player with a pretty rudimentary drawing. They still draw better than I do. Stats on the back of the card, full career stats, just NBA stats, no ABA stats from what I can gather, year by year, as well as career totals. And interestingly enough, there are college totals for rookies as well on there. I have a card in my hand of Jimmy Collins. Okay, you can't see it, but it has his 3-year stats from New Mexico State. And keep in mind, back then, players were only eligible to play varsity for 3 years in college. Trivia cartoon. One fun thing about that Jimmy Collins I talked about, it says he had his own disc jockey show in college. John Havlicek says that he is perhaps the NBA's greatest clutch player. Copyrights, bottom left, copyright TCG, printed in USA, and to the right of that is copyright 1968 NBPA for the National Basketball Players Association. Scoring leaders had a card that would be knocked off a year and a half later, the 1972 Topps set, featuring a loose leaf binder folded over with the pertinent information, year, type of leaders, as well as the top 10 in that category. So again, a direct knockoff in the 1972 set. Baseball would come later on. The All-Star players, which I didn't really go over the front in the All-Star, and I probably should, but I will in a second. The back of the All-Star cards have a live black and white photo of the player highlighted, along with kind of a rip from the headlines, such as Oscar Robertson dribbles through rugged defense kind of thing. The postseason cards have the statistics from either that series or whatnot. Like I'm showing right here, card number 175 has the Knicks and the Lakers from the 69-70 series and how many points were scored, free throws. I'm sorry, I guess it is free throws, and how many field goals they made. So there's that. Let's get back to the fronts. I apologize. The All-Star subset is kind of a magazine cover tilted askew on top of the same format. The player's card denotes the conference as well as or division. I guess it would have been 69-70. And it says 70-71 All-Star. Checklist has a lot of colors going on. Red, yellow, black, white, blue. See them all there. Multi-tone has a little banner. It says 70-71 NBA All-Stars with a couple stars on there. Has a little basketball player drawn on, all that stuff. A lot of room on these cards, these checklist cards, obviously, because of their exaggerated height. And there is a subset, again, featuring that their postseason stuff. It's kind of a black background reminiscent of the 71 Topps with kind of a decal edge picture imposed on there with a player in an action shot. We see Walt Frazier in Game 7, and it also has a facsimile autograph of the player featured, although it's not really an autograph. It's just essentially cursive writing in blue. It's real difficult to read in a lot of these cards. And your league leaders, again, these are the landscape horizontal cards that you see, top three, showing here Lou Alcindor, Jerry West, and Elvin Hayes, who were your 69-70 scoring leaders. Nice little smiles from all that were included. All right, so we did the front, we did the back, and then we went back and did the front again. So let's get to the subsets here. Again, I talked about 1 through 6 league leaders. There's 2 checklists, 24, which features cards 1 through 110, and 101, which features cards 111 through 175. The 101 card is also the only variation that we know of. 101, 101A, 101B. We'll get to that in a second. 106 through 115 are the All-Stars. Again, they look a lot like Topps 71 baseball. 168. I'm sorry. I lied to you. I lied to everybody. The All-Star cards do not look anything like 1971. They look like the 1970-71 Topps basketball cards with that magazine picture. It says Sport Magazine, Walt Frazier Guard, kind of cockeyed right on the front of the card. What does look like the 71 Topps is the 168 through 175 postseason highlights from the previous year. Again, it's kind of a decal edge picture inside of a all black background and a little red, white, and blue fonting going on there. I told you about 101A checklist and 101B checklist. The only difference is the year. 1970-71 is in black on 101A and in white on 101B. Let's get to some more stats here. This set price will run you $1,500 to $2,500. I'm looking at on Beckett OPG, depending on condition. Obviously, the individual value is $3,914.50. Average value of $22.24. Again, 23 rookie cards. Your top 5 are your Pete Maravich card number 123. It's a rookie card, $500 to $1,000. That's one of those 70s card legends on the show circuit. You see a lot of those graded bad boys floating around. Will Chamberlain card number 50 is $150 to $400, as is the Lou Alcindor card number 75. Again, these are cards you see a lot in showcases on the card show floor. Pat Riley's rookie card runs $50 to $120, and he's pictured in a non-Portland Trailblazers uniform. And Jerry West is Your number 5 at $40 to $100, card number 160. Let's talk a little bit about the rookies. Of course, we talked about Maravich at $500 to $1,000 and Riley at $50 to $120. Coming in at third is number 63, Bob Dandridge, $25 to $60. And card number 104 is a Bill Hoskett rookie card. Who's Bill Hoskett? I don't know. But his card's worth $20 to $50, and that is a short print. So short print rookie card, perfect storm. And the picture of Bob or Bill looks like he's afraid to shoot the ball. Fifth card in the top 5 rookies is card number 137, Calvin Murphy's rookie, $15 to $40. Those error cards, 101A and 101B, essentially have the same value. But oddly enough, the first checklist is more valuable, probably by about 33%. Strange, I know, but so be it. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in the judgment zone here. So the good cards, Lee Winfield, guard from Seattle, in his warm-ups, great camera angle from above the rim. And I consider this a good card because I think it's the only card, well, it is the only card in color of a player, individual player, that shows a basketball net or basketball court. And you can see the basketball court's very busy. Looks like your basketball court from high school, where it has all the volleyball lines on and all that jazz. So I included that because of the wonderful parquet, or the wonderful wood floor that you don't see in any of these other pictures. Don Kogis is forward from Seattle. He is card number 136. He looks like he was ready for picture day, like he went to glamour shots almost. So kudos to you, Don Kogis, for look at this baby blue eyes and that blonde hair. Boy, what a dreamy. And Rick Adelman, speaking of dreams, got his little frosted tips going on. I'm not accustomed to seeing Rick Adelman with blonde hair, but there he is, young, fresh, and with blonde hair. And Jerry Chambers, who card number 62, is a forward guard for the Atlanta Hawks. And I included him because he looks like a man of the cloth, black shirt, white collar. He looks like he is whatever the opposite of Sister Act is, maybe Reverend Act. He looks like he is a holy man playing basketball. So obviously good. Let's talk about the bad. Another one of those, card number 58, another one of those few action photos, is John Block, forward for San Diego. And the reason I don't like this card is you can't see his face. You just see the undercarriage of his chin. And I'm not sure that that's the most flattering card for anybody, but it'd be nice to see this guy's face so that I could judge him further. Maybe, I don't know. Card number 16 is Bob Weiss, guard from Chicago. And I dare any of you Chicago folks to tell me that those warm-up uniforms were a good idea. He looks like the Pink Power Ranger, and he looks like a creepy dude in a Pink Power Ranger costume. So, man, that's definitely bad. Jojo White, guard from Boston, very popular player. However, he has the same look on his face as when I tell my dog we don't have any more bacon. Same exact look. So that's why I picked this for the bad. It reminds me of my little vicious cockapoo when he doesn't have any more bacon. Larry Siegfried, the curtains definitely do not match the carpet, wearing a green, flat matte green jersey and the most satiny short green shorts I've ever seen in my life. I'm not sure why they decided to go with two different tones or two different materials of green, but I called him out on that. Probably not his fault, but could have done better there, I believe. Let's move on to the ugly part of the 70-71 set, if you don't mind. Darrall, Darrall Imhoff, center for the Philadelphia 76ers. He looks like he's posing for his dodgeball card. So I called you out on the ugly for there. Boy, look at those bony white legs there too. So it looks like he's definitely plays for Average Joe's gym on that picture. Jerry Salone, very, very, very popular coach of the Utah Jazz. Card number 148. Looks like it was taken on a morgue slab. I they could have done better than that. But Jerry Sloan looks like he what looks like a family member identifying his body. And speaking of things that should have gotten run over, card number 32, Toby Kimball, forward for San Diego. Again, those San Diego green, yellow jerseys, man. And Toby Kimball, I mean, just he's not a good looking guy, and he's definitely a mouth breather. So, and that's evident in the photo. So, again, in my never ending quest for how are these guys professional athletes, Toby Kimball's right up there. So there is a proof of life photo in this set. 73 Herm Gilliam. I decided not to show that because I believe negotiations are still underway for his return. So I don't want to give the kidnappers any more exposure than they deserve. Moving on to the ugly. Moving on to the drunk uncle portion of the show. So we got 4 winners here. John McLaughlin, guard, Milwaukee Bucks. Hey, this guy was a champion, I guess, but boy, does he look creepy in that photo. That's card number 139. Tom Meshery, forward for Seattle Supersonics, is definitely not the guy you want playing Santa at the mall. Gary Gregor, forward from Portland. He's a creepy dude. Nothing more said about that. And then there's Erwin Mueller, forward center from Detroit. Another creepy dude. Looks like he is in charge of the Ferris wheel at the carnival. So that's that. Okay. Another thing to talk about here is there were some inserts in this set. Some posters, 1 poster per pack that Topps included. And it was a 24 posters in the set. And, I can only imagine what condition they really would be in, because they, an 8x10 poster that's folded and put in the cards, probably not in very good condition in the pack, let alone when they came out of the pack. But that set will run you about $100, $250. Perhaps I'll look at that later on. Big names in there: Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Elvin Hayes, Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, all the usuals. But again, an 8x10 insert folded, included into that set. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me this week in my journey back in time. If you have a comment or suggestion, perhaps you have a set from the 1970s you'd like to hear more about, or are interested in sponsoring that 70s card show, I'm also available for bachelor parties. Please reach out to me at ThatSeventiesCardShow@gmail.com, That 70s Card Show on YouTube, or 70s Card on Twitter. Listen, end of the year, we're getting there. Probably have an episode next week, and then a recap episode eventually of the year. It's been a great year for collecting. There's been great content out there, so keep up the great work. All those people, I'm a big fan of many, many channels, and I'll try to get that in my review in the near future here. You don't need to get the best parking spot at the mall. Take your time. You can use, if you're a card collector, you could probably use the walk because you spend too much time in your card cave. So just be patient. Don't honk. Take it easy on the eggnog. Have fun. And just have a great, safe holiday season. Christmas is coming up shortly, so we're lucky that we have all these Christmas presents. I'm looking at a bunch of them behind me now. There, whatever. So be very thankful for what you have, and for the the camaraderie we have in this hobby. We all share it in common. So music is going to play us off here by Mango Safari, or they already are playing us off on the podcast. Again, enjoy collecting, and more importantly, enjoy your collection. Be safe, you guys, gals. Bye.